What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dissect That Film podcast, where once a week we dissect your favorite films, film franchises, and now TV. But today is a different episode, because today we're doing a topic episode, where instead of talking about a specific movie, we're going to be talking about a general variety of movies. And today it is remakes. Joining me today, as always, is the amazing DNA Gaming, consisting of Dan and Angela. Welcome.
Hello.
Are you guys excited for our very first topic episode?
I'm curious. I want to see how this plays out. Like, I'm very interested.
Me too.
There's a lot of dead air.
This is gonna be a good one. I'm excited because I didn't have to watch a movie and like do the plot synopsis. That was my favorite thing, because as much as I love this, I love doing the show. Don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, but sometimes I'm like, damn, I just want to watch a movie and not have to write fucking 17 pages of notes on the plot and then retype them up again.
I'm just waiting for at one point during this just to be like, what the fuck was I thinking? Carry on. It'll be good.
Today we were talking about remakes. Remakes have been around for a long time, since pretty much the start of film itself. The first remake was made in 1896, which is insane to think that film is like some, film, of course, it has revolutionized over the years, or evolved. Revolutionized. It's gotten up and tried to fight other people. No, it's evolved over the years. It is. Revolution.
The hell with
for the
television?
Films. No, but I looked it up online, and of course it could be wrong, because, not everything online you can believe. But it said that the first remakes were made in the late 1800s. So the first one was 1896. Not saying it was film, but it had to have been of some sort of entertainment, a play or something that was put on some sort of screen at that time.
You mean everything on the internet can be right or wrong?
No,
like, I thought everything on the internet was like true facts.
Yeah, exactly. The funny thing is like, I take a lot of my trivia on movies off of IMDb, and then I was listening to a podcast. I was actually listening to the Dead Meat podcast a few days ago, and they were like, yeah, don't take everything on IMDb trivia. Like, don't believe it all, because some of it is just people. It's just like Wikipedia. People can just go in there and just put whatever they want. I'm like, awesome. Great.
Yeah, that's true. They can.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I didn't know that about IMDb. I knew that people can do like reviews and stuff, but I didn't realize that they could put their own trivia. So some trivia that I've probably stated in some of these shows have probably been wrong, and I apologize. Fuck it. I don't apologize. It's my show. Oh, yeah. So remakes have been around for a long time, and there have been movies that haven't just been remade once. They've been remade many, many, many times over the years. I actually went online. Was Screen Rant made a list of the top 10 most remade movies over the last 100 years. And I'm going to go with in order, like from 10 down to 1. And then I want you guys to guess. And then if you guys get it wrong, then I'll just state what it is. And you guess what movie it is, and then how many times it's been remade. So at number 10, what do you think?
I'm going to just name the same movie every time, because I have no idea.
Do you want me to just want me to go down the list? Just so we don't have a lot of empty space here?
Yeah, because I legit, I have no idea. Outside of this one that's right here in front of me, I have no idea.
Okay. Some of these are surprising to me. So at number 10, so this is as of 2019. So I believe that's probably up to date, because I don't know how many remakes have been made in the last 2 years that were also remade, back in the day. At number 10 is The Longest Yard. The first one.
Can I guess how many times?
Yeah.
4 times.
Angela?
I'll say 3.
Ding, ding, ding. Angela got it right 3 times. First one coming out in 1974, starring Burt Reynolds. But I don't know what the second. It said 3 times. All I remember is the Burt Reynolds and then the Adam Sandler one that came out in 2005.
I don't know which one you're talking about, but with all the wrestlers in it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had Terry Crews and some former football players, former wrestlers, stuff like that.
Mean Machine.
Oh, yeah.
That was the name of the
British. Yeah, it was a
Okay.
British sports film, comedy directed by blah, blah, blah. It's got Vinnie Jones in it, and it's an
Okay.
adaptation of
The Longest Yard. Okay.
the Longest Yard, of course.
All right,
but
so
in
you guys,
Britain.
I'm gonna have you guys look up. So like, if it's one I don't remember, I'll have you guys look up and see what year I'm missing. Number
You're that
9.
person from Price is Right that always goes $1 above or below the person before them.
Hey, I
I'm
mean,
still
most of the time it works, right?
Monsters.
Number
Carry
9 is The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. The first one was released in 1974, so that's 2 movies in a row where the first came out in 1974. What's our guess for how many times this has been remade? So this is going from lowest to highest. So
okay, 4 again.
Okay,
I'll say 4, just because the other one was 3.
So that one was also 3.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so there's going to be a few that are going to have the same amount of remakes. They're just putting. I think it's just Screen Rant's order. So I remember. So I know that there's the 1974 film, which was directed by the director of Jaws 2. Is like Juan.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I remember the one directed by, not Ridley Scott, Tony Scott, that had John Travolta and Denzel Washington. That came out, I believe, in the early 2000s, right? 2000.
Yeah, 2009.
Wow, I thought it was a little older. But all right. At number 8, we have I Am Legend, which the remakes were also called Omega Man. The original was called Omega Man, and then The Last Man on Earth.
Yeah, this is 4. This is for sure 4.
3.
Yeah, 3.
Really?
Yeah. The first one, I believe, was like 1956.
Yeah, because that was The Last Man on Earth.
Because I think wasn't Charlton Heston in one of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the original one was Vincent Price. It was The Last Man on Earth. Then it was
Omega
the
Man.
70s one. Yeah, Omega Man. No, that was Omega Man. Yeah, and then it was
I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Yeah, I Am Legend with Will Smith. But there was The Last Man on Earth.
Yeah, I believe that was the original.
No, that was the one with Charlton Heston in the 70s. No. The Last Man on Earth was the one in the 50s. The 70s one was with Heston.
With Omega Man.
1924.
Yeah. Omega Man was with Heston. In 70s. And the 50s was The Last Man on Earth or something, right?
Sure. Actually, that was the only one I didn't put years for. Good for me.
Let me look. I have to.
I apologize to anyone listening. I do have a slight cough, so if I accidentally cough into the mic, I apologize.
That's not the same thing. It's based on the book I Am Legend.
Is the book called I Am Legend?
Yeah, the book is. It was the book first, then The Last Man on Earth. I'm pretty sure, and then it was.
And then Omega Man was with Heston, and then I Am Legend in 2010, 11,
something like that.
That one I don't remember. I do remember watching it.
Oh, that was 64 with Vincent Price.
Okay.
Well, here you go. I'll just do it. We got a second.
Yep. I Am Legend was 07. Omega Man was 71.
Yep,
Last Man on Earth was 64.
Yep, there you go. So that film has been remade twice. Well, actually, if you don't count the book, it'd be the original movie and then 2 remakes. If you count the book, then it's 3 remakes.
All right. Number 7 is in the Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh.
The first being released in 1956. And then we had the 1978 one with Donald Sutherland and my boy Jeff Goldblum.
He was in that one?
Yep.
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. And what the snatch? I'm trying to spell snatchers here. All right, so 1956, 1978.
We're both.
I guess there was a TV series.
I believe it.
And then there was a movie called The Invasion, which was in 2007, which was also considered. So that was with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. I did not realize that was a remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I've seen that movie. Didn't realize that was a remake of that. I didn't.
Well, it must not have been a strong. Must not have leaned too hard in its source material. I suppose
from 2007. All right.
I remember that movie when it came out, and I had heard it was, but I didn't. I always forget it.
Yeah, and then it was one in 1993.
Oh,
that had Meg Tilly in it. Wow, and Arlie Ermy, Forrest Whitaker.
Damn.
Okay.
talking about earlier where I said that was a remake?
I don't remember.
I guess it was something we had watched, not recently, but something that we had watched, and I was like, "Oh."
I don't remember. I remember, well, if you even count offshoot, like this doesn't fall into this category, but even offshoot films or similar films, because The Faculty is essentially Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I feel like there's a lot of movies that are are based in a similar way to that movie. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, like in like an offshoot thing.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that was remade 4 times. And number 6 is A Star Is Born, which the recent one was the one with Lady Gaga. The original one was released in 1937.
Damn.
One of them, I know that one of them starred Judy Garland. Let's see.
54.
We had
54.
Yeah, so 1937, 1954 with Judy Garland, 1976 with Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson, and then of course the 2018 one with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
That's a lusty ass poster. The 74 one, 76 one.
I mean,
it's like lust going on.
Barbara Streisand.
I'm pretty sure they're both like half naked. He definitely does not have a shirt on.
He is a shirt.
Listen, Chris Christopherson does not need a shirt.
Ever.
No. So we then have at number 5 is Seven Samurai, or The Magnificent Seven. The original was the 1954 Japanese. It was yeah.
It was Akira Kurosawa.
Because I didn't know.
And yeah, that one's been remade. That one was remade 4 times. With the most recent one being The Magnificent Seven, which starred Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Vincent D'Onofrio, which actually was a very good movie. And I believe there was one. Let's see. I think that was John Wayne in one.
Probably. One of the older ones is Charles Bronson.
Yul Brenner and Steve McQueen. Oh, there was one. Oh, there was one with Michael Biehn in 1998.
Okay. I got excited. I thought you said Sean Bean. I was like, well, he has to die in it.
That one had Michael Biehn. Oh, this was a show. Michael Biehn, Ron Perlman.
Oh,
yeah, very interesting. Yeah, love it. All right, so there's a lot of like 4. So at number 4 is King Kong, 4 times.
Hell yeah!
Of course, we have the 1933 original. We have the 1976. We have the 2005, and then do they count Kong Skull Island as the final?
I guess you could, because it's a new Kong in its own continuity. So I guess you could, but I wouldn't really call it a remake of the original because it doesn't really. It's a remake, I guess. It's a very loosely adapted remake, I will say, because it doesn't follow the plot of the original at all. Yeah, we went and saw that in theaters. I know, it was terrifying.
I saw that in theaters too. Fucking love the 2005 King Kong.
It's good. It's damn good. 76, I could take or leave.
Yeah, I love Jessica Lange, and of course that's Jeff Bridges in it, which is 2 great actors. It just was a mess, I think, of a movie.
Yeah, dude, she ruined that movie for me. I know you like her.
Who, Jessica Lange? I like Jessica Lange in like the American Horror Stories. Like she's really good now.
The moment she came, like the movie was fine until she showed up, and she showed up, and I was like, for some odd reason, just I didn't care for the film.
I also didn't like the direction they went with that, like with certain things. Like it was like the way they had like Kong, like just like feel her up and stuff in a way that was like they tried to make it sexual, and I was like, this is just unnecessary.
That did happen in the original.
Yeah, but it was. I feel like it was. I don't know. I think they went a little too far with the 76.
Yeah, I would agree. It was a little more forward. Yeah, that's for sure.
Like lingered in spots.
And it doesn't have Sergeant Slaughter in it. He is in King Kong Lives. It's just not a remake.
Golly, that's so good. At number 3, we're actually going to be changing it now. At number 3 is Annie. 5 times this movie has been remade, and the first one came out in 1932.
It was 4 times too many.
I don't like how I type Annie into IMDb and it just puts up Annie Murphy. Listen, I love you, Annie Murphy. Schitt's Creek's a great show, but I'm not looking for that right now. Yeah, so the original Annie came out in 1932, and then we have one from 1982. I know I'm not going in order here because I'm just clicking on like what. Hello? Where are all the other ones?
I think I've
Annie,
only watched
go.
2.
I only saw the one with Tim Curry in it.
I mean, that's the only one worth watching, honestly.
Well, that's up for debate. But
The only Annie worth watching.
Okay, let's go. We're gonna go into here real quick.
I don't remember.
Where are the films here? Oh, so we have in 1932 was Little Orphan Annie. In 1938 there was Little Orphan Annie. Then we had Annie in 1982, and then Annie in 2014. This says it was remade 5 times. I only see 4 films
There
here.
was one, I think, in 1995. I think is
There's
what they
Annie,
consider
a Royal Adventure,
a Royal Adventure.
but that was a TV film.
Oh,
And then there was Annie
no,
from
that's
1999, which was also a TV film. And then there was Annie Live. God, how many times do we need to see Annie? We know the story.
When does Annie the Revenge come out? Because that's the one I want to see.
Oh God, we all know how the last Revenge movie went.
Right.
At number 2 is Batman. It was remade 6 times.
I was gonna say 6.
I want you to tell all your friends about me.
The first Batman film came out in 1943.
It did.
And then we got the 1960s.
Adam West.
1968?
Yeah,
67, 68. And then we got
I think the series was 66.
Yeah, and then we had the 1989, and then we got the 2005 with Batman Begins, and we got Batman v Superman, and then we got the 2022 Batman starring Robert Pattinson, our favorite sparkly vampire.
Oh, him? That's vengeance.
Oh man, as much as I'm laughing at that, I cannot wait for that movie.
That movie looks really good.
It looks so good.
Dude, Colin Farrell doesn't look anything like him.
No. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. All right, I'm going to let you guys. This is the final one, of course, number 1. What movie do you think is the most remade movie of all time? Did you look it up before you're answering this, you cheater? Did you cheat?
No, yes, indirectly, because it was on the screen. And I didn't look. It was just on the screen. I seen like a shitload of movies.
All right.
And it's Brewster's Millionaires.
No.
Is that not it?
No.
Okay, that's on this list. There's like 8.
Oh, good. It's okay. As I said, this is a 2019 list from Screen Rant, which is I think is a reputable site because all they talk about is movies. So I figured they did a lot more research than I did. So, but no, that's not what's on this list.
Superman.
No.
Fuck. Okay.
Let your wife guess.
I don't know.
Debbie Does Dallas. Shit.
No. The number 1 most remade movie of all time is A Christmas Carol, with the first one being released in 1901.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
And,
hold on, don't click anything.
And I am not going through all of the goddamn freaking Christmas carols. I don't know if they count a Muppet Christmas Carol as a remake, but I'm guessing so. It's literally a Christmas Carol just with Muppets. But the latest one was, I believe, the animated one with Jim Carrey, who did the voice of Scrooge.
Well, there's one on here. It's called Brewster's Millionaires.
Brewster's Millions.
Millions. I don't want to say millionaires. Brewster's Millions from 1914. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 films that are remakes of this movie.
But I don't think they are.
First one was in 1935. Wait, what year did you say? 1914?
1914 is one list. And again, this is IMDb, so give or take about Wikipedia. Wikipedia.
But it's just a list. It's not like facts.
And not all these are American films.
Yeah, I don't know why that wouldn't be on there. Because I'm on IMDb and I'm just seeing all of them. Wow.
Because that's
all right.
That's Indian.
There's multiple. Looks like multiple Indian films. That's probably Indian as well. Indian. Yeah.
I know in the early days. So in the early days of films, a lot of times in America, because film in America came out later than some other countries. Like France was a big innovator in film, and a lot of films were being made over there. And the United States were like, instead of writing our own ideas for films, we're just going to take those ideas that the French have, all these beautiful French movies, and we're going to take them over here, and we're just going to remake them into an Americanized version, which is still happening today, not just in France, but of course, there's a lot, especially horror movies. We get a lot of J-horrors, which Japanese horrors that are remade into Americanized. Like we talked about The Ring on the show, which is a remake. The Grudge is a remake, which is a J-horror. Dark Sky. Is it Dark Sky or Dark Water? I think it's called Dark Water.
I think it's Dark Water.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Dark Water.
Wreck and Quarantine.
Yep. That's a Spanish film. Yep. But
yeah, and we did some Korean stuff too.
Probably.
We looked at some Korean films.
I know that there's a big, so I don't know if you guys have heard of The Train to Busan. It's a very popular Korean zombie movie. It's actually getting an American remake at some point. Of course it is. But yeah, I feel as film has progressed over the years, American filmmakers are just, it's easy to look at something that's been made somewhere else and kind of put your own twist to it, which I appreciate that, directors aren't doing shot for shots. Shot for shot remakes are one of my least favorite things. And one of the most prime examples of a shot for shot remake that is just awful is the remake of Psycho, which came out in 1998, which starred Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. It had was it Anne Heche, William H. Macy. It was bad. It was legit a shot for shot. Every shot in that film was exactly the same as the 1960 Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. I understand in a way, because Psycho came out in 1960. It's an old film. And in order to get new audiences interested in that film, or to get them to watch that original film, they want to make something more modern. They want the color, they want the actors they're used to. Even people my age are going into Psycho like, I'm not a big fan of the black and white. I don't know who any of these people are. It's just not for me. Then you're watching something like the 1998 Psycho, and you're like, oh, well, this is cool. This is an interesting film. It's like, no, you need to watch now that you've seen this, go watch that movie, because you will appreciate it even more, because that one's not good.
That actually doesn't happen very often. They don't do very many shot for shot remakes.
No, it's very rare. And I think Psycho actually ruined it. I'm not kidding.
Way to go, Psycho. Thanks, Van Owen. You ruined it for us.
I hate
good old
that
Vince Vaughn.
Janet Leigh she was amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you take something so iconic as her Scream and just, I don't know, it was like not a train wreck, but it was not what you know. It's not what you know.
Right.
And then you see that and it's like, oh, she's.
I think that's the problem with that's the problem that falls on any kind of remake. And especially if you do one that's like a shot for shot, because you're literally, that's like almost the perfect, like almost 100% emulation of the film that came before it, which is going to be hard, because that movie the original will always be sacred in people's hearts. And the moment if you try to do it shot for shot, and it's not going to have the same people in it.
Nope.
So they're not going to emote the same. They're not going to act the same. It doesn't have the same directors, the same writers. Even if it's shot for shot, it's treading too closely. And I think that's why people don't do it.
Yeah, Psycho is so iconic. The director, Alfred Hitchcock was one of the most famous directors of all time. He was a master at his craft. The actors, Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates, he was fantastic in that role. And I feel they always have to, I feel it's the same with, we'll talk about this other remake, the 2007 Rob Zombie Halloween remake, where I think the problem was, and John Carpenter came out and actually stated what his issues were with the Rob Zombie remake, was that Michael Myers is supposed to be this, you're supposed to think he's this supernatural being. You kind of want to make it out like he's not a person. He's the shape. He's a mystery. to everybody in this film, where Rob Zombie grounded him and gave him a backstory and made him more of a human. And he was just a freak of nature too. This man, I mean, they got the actor they got to play Michael Myers was like almost 7 feet tall. He was so, it was just so much. As much as I enjoy Rob Zombie's twist on Halloween, I do agree with Carpenter's interpretation of what Rob Zombie's Halloween was compared to his original, where Michael Myers was a person who was just freakishly strong and likes to murder people, where the original was that mystery. Who the hell is this guy? What?
So go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
I said that goes back to what we've talked about in many episodes, at least I've mentioned in many episodes, is the moment you explain things that are supposed to be mysterious, you kind of ruin it.
Yeah.
And I like to know, like, especially for my background, like I like to know why things are the way they are. But I know in a good horror, sci-fi, suspense, whatever, the less you explain can actually make it better.
Yeah.
And that's one of those situations.
So,
especially if what you're writing about, or the movie's about, is something that's supposed to be mysterious. Like, you don't want that backstory. You want that to remain as mysterious as you can, to the words just kind of went, whoa.
It happens to me all the
time. It's like, I know what I'm trying to say.
It keeps the audience involved, trying to figure out like what's going on here.
Yeah.
Why is this happening? It keeps the suspense up.
Yeah, like, I like suspense to a point. Like, don't end the movie and leave me guessing.
Yeah.
Like,
but also, you don't have to worry.
Like with the end of like seasons of shows. Like, please don't do that to me. That makes me so.
Because then that show gets canceled.
Yes, and then
you're like, shit. I'm always gonna think about this.
Yes,
it drives me nuts.
This, but then another thing I like about that, the element of mystery and the lack of knowing is you actually removes one thing that I know some people bitch about. Even I complain about when I watch movies, is films that are predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because if you don't explain it, you're like, oh, it could be this. It could like throw like red herrings, but never really never specify. You kind of remove that element, which is nice. Because we've covered movies on here. I'm like, well, that kind of went by the book, how that played out. You kind of saw shit coming from like a mile away.
It's very predictable on what's going to happen. A shot-for-shot remake that actually worked out is actually two movies that I have never seen before. The first was a 1997 film called Funny Games. It was released in 1997 by director Michael Haneke. He's an Austrian filmmaker, but it didn't really get the wide audience he had hoped for. So he decided 10 years later he was going to remake his own film in 2007, starring Naomi Watts, Tim Roth, and Michael Pitt. And it was literally a shot-for-shot remake. It was even filmed on the same at the same locations as the original. It was literally all the same thing, but it worked. It was.
I remember the trailers.
A lot more people saw it, and it was somewhat successful. I don't know. Actually, I'm wrong. It did make back its budget, but a lot of people. I think it's a cult classic. It's a very good psychological horror. So I recommend seeing it, even though I haven't seen it. I'm going to see it at some point, but that's a shot-for-shot remake where I feel like it worked. Where I feel if you remake iconic films, you are putting yourself in such a bad spot, because you are having the movie let's say you choose, somebody decides I'm going to remake Jaws. You are putting yourself on such, like, you're literally having to climb Mount Everest to try to make this movie successful, because what Steven Spielberg went through to make that film to begin with was already a nightmare. And if you cut corners and do things the Hollywood way with all the CG and on sound stages and stuff, it just doesn't feel the same, because we know, at least diehard cinephiles know, how Jaws was made. Things didn't go right. They filmed on the ocean. They tried to use a mechanical shark, didn't work. So he had to change the way that movie was made completely, and it worked out, where if someone tried to remake that, it's gonna fail. You are failing before you even start.
On that note, because I'm agreeing with you on this, because I think the reason people do remakes is outside of a studio, it's more of an easy payday for them.
Yeah.
Like a big movie like that obviously has notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel bad for some of the directors. Like, if something that came up to a director's like, dude, we're remaking Jaws. Do you want to direct Jaws?
Yeah.
How many people are going to say no to that?
Right.
Like, it's a big payday.
Yeah.
But admittedly, like I said, you've got that notoriety, but you're on a real high. You have high expectations to reach, and that being a high profile film, if it does go bad, which is likely it will, if they did remake Jaws, that could ruin that director's career.
Yeah, I think the big.
I would say no.
Huh?
I would say no for that reason.
I think you're better off making your own movie and not remaking.
Yeah,
because
if you want to make something, remake something as iconic as
Orca.
Jaws.
Remake Orca. Go ahead.
There's no way you could do it.
Well, you could. They would just fuck it up.
Yeah. But you don't want to.
Well, no, of course you don't. But I mean, they would.
I would say no for that reason.
Ultimately, that was what Cruel Jaws was. It was a attempt at remaking Jaws, and it was bad. It's not a joke. That is legit what they tried to do. It's a remake of Jaws, but just done very poorly. But that's just the way that it goes with, you're gonna be offered a fuck ton of money. But there's also another thing, and I always feel bad for directors, especially when I read about the behind the scenes of certain films when they're being made, is so much interference with the studios that'll fuck you hard. The director of the most recent Fantastic Four, that is pretty much why that movie came out so bad. It was he had an idea what he wanted to do with that film, and because it was a Marvel thing, or it was Fox, of course, at the time, they threw so much money at this movie. They wanted to make sure it was done right, but of course, the studio has a lot of these guys who work in the studio. They don't know how to make a movie; they just know how to write a check.
Yep.
And they're not allowing these people who are trained to make film. They're like, that's their job. Let these people do what they want to do to be successful.
It's the same thing that happens with comic books. Because people will have they'll have all these different writers, and they'll have a book, and they'll write a book for X amount of whatever. But then you'll have editorial mandates. Like, okay, I know you're doing a story you're wanting to do, but we have a big event comic this character has to be in, so you have to change your story X, Y, and Z to make sure it lines up with what we want.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing. It's just literally ruining somebody's idea. And then again, that director gets shit on. Oh, they made a bad movie, so we don't want them doing stuff. And even though they had nothing to do with it for the most part, they were just following orders from up top. People signed the check. Listen, the long and short of it is make your own shark movie. Exactly. Don't make Jaws.
Exactly.
Make Teeth.
Listen, the Meg. People. I think there's two sides of people hate that film or people love that film. I think the Meg is underrated. I think it's a good shark. It's one of the first, other than Deep Blue Sea, the Meg was a very good shark movie. It felt.
I own it. We haven't watched it yet.
I watch it. It's great. I very much enjoyed it. So I'm gonna go through a list here of some of very good remakes that made a lot of money, but also I think did a really good job at being at not just being a shot for shot, or not just taking so many ideas and kind of just regurgitating it out there just to make money. Disney is, of course, one of the most infamous companies for doing remakes. They remake their movies all the time, especially their animated movies. And some of them have worked and some of them have not worked. In my opinion, The Jungle Book is probably one of the best Disney remakes. It's gorgeous, great story. The way that they kind of twisted certain characters from not just the original animated movie, but also they actually incorporated some of the stuff from the book. Which, if anyone knows the history of The Jungle Book, the book, it is not a kid's book.
Who wrote that again?
Most Disney.
R.P. Kipling? Rudyard Kipling?
Rudyard Kipling.
Okay, thank you.
Most of Disney's stories were Grimm's fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are nowhere near.
Oh, no.
Kid stuff.
Well, even then.
The Little Mermaid. Like every time she stepped, it was like walking on glass.
Yeah.
When she got legs the first
Yeah,
time.
when she got legs.
Well,
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Oh yeah.
Like that's definitely not something that you want to cover
Also,
on a podcast.
I think one of the most infamous animated films that got Disney films that pretty much took the original story and made it completely different and definitely has offended a lot of people, especially recently, is Pocahontas. Pocahontas, that didn't happen. Not even close. No. We're talking about the animated compared to the original story.
Yeah, because she was a kid and everything.
She was a kid who was stolen, went back to and pretty much lived in England with like a man who was way older than her, and she ended up dying of a disease. Like it's a terrible story, and that's all I'm gonna really say about it. But yeah, back to like the remakes. But like for me, the Lion King, the newest live action Lion King, not a good remake. It's unnecessary. How do you remake an animated film as animation? It's animation. That's all it is. What are you doing? Yep. The whole point, The Lion King is my favorite animated film of all time. It was the first film I ever remember seeing in theaters. Actually, I think it was the first movie I saw in theaters in 1994. I was like 2.5. Don't know how I remember going to see it. But the great thing about The Lion King, for anybody who doesn't know, The Lion King is based on Shakespeare's Hamlet.
Which is stolen from another animated property as well.
Kimba the White Lion.
Oh, are you on that side of the fence?
Well, I mean, dude, have you seen some of Kimba?
Yes,
the White
I know.
Lion? I mean, there's no fence about it. The fact that they just blatantly deny, like, okay, we've lifted a lot of this material. It's not identical in every way, but there's a lot of shots and material that it's almost. There could be circumstances that it would be like, okay, freak chance this happened, kind of like with Strangers. Remember they had that other movie that was made like about the same time that came out with The Strangers. Hypothetically that could happen, but there's a lot of shit between those two movies, and especially with Kimba being like 30 years older prior to that people wouldn't know about this. Like I refuse to believe the fact that Disney's like, nope, we ain't saying shit about it. It's just way too close, in my opinion.
That's the way Disney works.
But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, the great thing about the animated Lion King was the emotion and the facial, how in every situation there was they emoted, and that's what was so great. Where the live action, I say that in air quotes because it's not live action, it's CGI. It's just a CGI blob that made a $1.6 billion at the box office. Jon Favreau, I love you, man, but this was unnecessary. I hated it. I watched it as I will never watch this again. It's not good. It's just not good.
It was just something that the adults that watched it growing up were like, oh, we're going to take our kids to see it.
Yeah. There's no emotion on these animals' faces because they look like the real animal. Mm-hmm. So like when Simba gets scared, he doesn't look scared. He looks like a lion cub who's just running away. Like the thing about the original was Simba, like the scene where the wildebeest are going down the thing and he sees him and you get that zoom in on his terrified face and then he runs. Like that's great. When that same scene happens in the newest one, you're like, is he okay? Is he scared? I don't know. I can't tell.
I think he had a stroke.
And they took out Scar's song.
Well, they had. They took out the song and they took out the whole visuals because the original visuals kind of looked like Nazis marching. Like it was that same like motion, like the march.
Well, it was the oppressive dictatorship.
Yeah,
I mean, it was symbolic and all that shit. But listen,
song is awesome.
If you're gonna deal with brothers killing each other to take over an area, like literally take over a kingdom, and like literally just run off a kid to die in the desert, like I don't think I should be too concerned about militaristic imagery in my kids' movie.
Yeah,
I mean between you and me. But anyway, carry on.
So now that we're off the Disney train here, we're hop off there. Another great remake from the early 2000s is Ocean's 11. Brad Pitt.
I never seen the original.
George Clooney, but the original had the Rat Pack.
Yeah, it did.
Which back in the 60s, which was also I've heard is a wonderful film. Never seen it. I've seen Ocean's 11 and 12. I think it's Ocean's
Disney.
Okay.
I have another Disney one I was disappointed in. Aladdin.
I'm torn. I actually enjoyed. I enjoyed it.
Oh, I love Will Smith. Love him. The fact that they changed the song so much.
He had to.
So
I respect him wanting to do his own thing.
Here's I agree with Dan. That's my thing. Is I was so scared that Will Smith was going to imitate Robin Williams, and he didn't. He did his own Genie. He did his own ways of singing the songs, and I was like, I like this movie because you did your own thing. You weren't trying to imitate, and that's what I appreciate about these certain remakes. Is you're not just taking exactly what this person did and doing the same thing. You're putting your own twist on it. It's great. That's why A Star Is Born. That movie won Oscars. That movie's been remade 4 times over the last 80 years.
I just don't like Lady Gaga sometimes.
Well, I don't want to see any of these remakes you guys are talking about. So, I don't want to see
the original. But I just don't like her sometimes. I loved her in American Horror Story. Fantastic. Loved her.
She's in a new film coming out called The House of Gucci.
Which also has Jared Leto, and he looks nothing like Jared Leto.
Directed by Ridley Scott, by the way.
There better be a chest burster. No, I know.
Actually,
I know.
So I'm gonna sidetrack. This is listen, everybody. Everybody's like, oh my god, this episode's all over the place. Guess what? That's what the plan was. It was this episode had no order, we didn't have an itinerary of what we're talking about. We're all over the place. So just hold on to something, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on
to your butts.
Hold your butts.
What was? I just blanked on what I was thinking of.
Chestburster, Aliens.
Oh, yes. Scott. So Ridley Scott, it's not a remake, but so Ridley Scott directed the original Alien back in 1979. And I feel like the thing is you always have those directors who they make an original property. So he was the origin of Alien. And then he came back very years and years later to kind of come back into the franchise because he did Prometheus, which was a prequel to the Alien franchise. And then there was Alien Covenant, which was also a prequel to the original Alien. Fair enough. But the thing was, it's Alien was so iconic and so great that I feel like he couldn't capture that magic again. And there are directors who have done that over the years where they've had such an iconic property and then they would come back to it 25 years later and they just couldn't get that fire back. I think Prometheus is a very underrated film. A lot of people talk shit about it. I think it's a film where you could feel you could go into it not seeing any of the Alien movies and kind of just watch that movie and go, okay, that was a very interesting movie. But then you can also look at it as an Alien film and go, wow, I like how that all went down. But some people, there's a lot of people who hate that movie. Covenant, on the other hand, not a good film. It's a mess. And I think Ridley Scott, as fantastic of a director he is, he couldn't recapture that magic. I think CGI has kind of ruined it as much as I thought the aliens kind of looked badass in that film. It all just seemed like too much.
Yep. They rely too much on it, man. Everything starts looking the same.
Also, everything looks like everything gets turned into an action film.
Yeah.
Alien wasn't an action film.
Jurassic World.
The Jurassic World franchise. It went from, Jurassic Park being such a dark, survival horror movie in my eyes. I'll put it in the classification of horror. Where Jurassic World was an action movie. Yeah. It was a Jurassic movie, or it was an action movie. Yes, it is a Jurassic movie, but no, it's an action movie. You got Chris Pratt beating people up. It's an action movie. I put under my good remakes the 2014 Godzilla.
Damn it! What are you doing to me? I was going to bring that up. You son of a bitch.
Oh, sorry.
No. Carry on.
This is another one where I feel people are torn. Either people love this movie or hate this movie, especially being, especially super diehard Godzilla fans. It's a tough task remaking such an iconic film as the 1956. Is 56 or 54?
54.
54 Godzilla. But I feel they did a great job. I love the redesign of Godzilla. The story, of course. I mean, listen, you want to know what we thought of this movie? Make sure to watch episode 1 of this show. Our very first podcast episode was on this film we're talking about right now. The story was kind of wish-wash for me. The human character is always the weakest part. But Godzilla looked badass. I mean, he's destroying a lot of stuff and beating big monsters up, and that's pretty much how this franchise has been throughout the years.
But keep going.
No, go ahead.
With 2 T's.
Ooh.
This is right. I do that. Like, I'm sorry. Anyway, this was a pretty good remake for an American film for like any kind of Godzilla remake, but it's it's what I categorize as a very loose remake.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Outside of it being about Godzilla and some of the theming being around radiation, the stories have almost no direct similarity.
No. It's a remake by name.
Yeah. Well, there's a worse example, ironically, about the same character.
Oh, you mean did it come out in 1998?
It did.
Oh my God, I think I know that movie. I have it on Blu-ray.
I do too.
It's a great movie.
I've heard the 4K transfer is actually really good.
I don't have it on 4K, but
I know, right? I will say it was one of the only Godzilla like starting point films, like remake ground one or stage 1 or whatever, that ever had Godzilla fight another monster. Because all the other ones he doesn't.
Yeah, he's just fighting. He's just surviving against the human characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
anyway,
bad remake.
Good movie though.
1998 Godzilla.
Yeah, yes.
Dude, a movie that is literally a remake by name.
that is the biggest example of remake by name ever. Because other than having a character whose name is Godzilla, and they even admitted the only reason when they made this movie, what's his name?
Roland Emmerich.
Yeah, Roland Emmerich was a piece of shit for making this movie. He only did it just for the notoriety of Godzilla.
Which is annoying because he had just released Independence Day the year before.
Exactly.
Which Roland Emmerich, early Roland Emmerich, not so much now, but early Roland Emmerich, other than Godzilla, his movies were fucking iconic. You got to think not the Day the Earth Stood Still. What's the one with Jake Gyllenhaal and Dennis Quaid?
Day After Tomorrow.
Day After Tomorrow, 2012. Trying to think of others. Can't think.
What was the one with the big storm? Geostorm? Or
he didn't direct that. I don't think.
He didn't do that one.
No,
okay.
But he did do the sequel to Independence Day.
Oh, there's a winner.
We don't need to talk about that. We'll talk about sequels another time. Another good one on my list is we've already talked about a little bit, is the 2005 King Kong, which is
good movie.
It's not a shot for shot, but it is a very similar storyline to the original. Yeah.
Very much, yes. And we even got scenes that were re-recorded scenes that were lost in the original film.
That's really cool. So, but that was directed by Peter Jackson. And of course, Peter Jackson, coming right off of the Lord of the Rings films, of course, is going to be given such an iconic franchise. And I think he nailed it.
He did. My only complaint is that movie's too fucking long.
I mean, aren't all Peter Jackson movies too long?
Yeah, they are. That's just his thing. I get ever since he did Lord of the Rings, he's like, they must be 3 hours.
Yeah, so I'm gonna probably piss off a lot of the fan base here, but I've never seen all of the Lord of the Rings films. And I know that the standard versions are like 2.5 hours, and then they have extended versions because I need to watch 3.5 hours. Oh, I'm not going to go too far because I'm going to have people just being like, fuck you.
I have not because I'm a big Tolkien. I've seen all 3 of the original Lord of the Ring movies in theatrical cut and extended cut.
Well,
I don't know what that says about me.
Whenever we get to that franchise, that's going to be fun.
Let's just watch the theatrical cut.
No, we're going to watch the extended cut. So our episode's like 4 hours long. Of me talking about the plot. And they walked some more. I'm going to piss everybody off.
He did walk a lot.
There's so much walking.
This is about 2 short blokes being the first Amazon delivery guys dropping a ring off at a volcano. There were no trucks back then.
We have to drop this ring into a fiery pit. All right, I'm done.
Do it. Drop it in the pit.
I'm done bashing a film franchise I haven't even seen. Number 5 for me is It 2017. I thought listen, Tim Curry is a legend, and it really sucks to see the condition he is in nowadays. But yeah, Tim Curry is iconic, and his Pennywise is iconic. It definitely is the best part of that entire miniseries. But the 2017, it is just so fucking good because it is what Stephen King wrote in his books. The things that happen in this film are what Stephen King wrote on those pages. Exception of some things, because that book is 1,400 goddamn pages long. Stephen King.
It's your fault. I'm just kidding.
I didn't.
No, it's Stephen King. It's called Drugs' fault. Stephen King did a lot of drugs when he wrote that book.
Yes.
That's probably true.
I read 500 pages of that book and I had to stop because there was no joke. 40 pages of just this dude sitting in a room having visions or something, and I'm like, oh, I got to take a break, and I still haven't gone back to it. There's still 900 pages to go.
Okay, so I had it. I got it from I use an app called Overdrive, and it's like a local library, but it's digital. Like you can check out books and they get delivered through your Kindle.
Okay.
Or you can have audiobooks. And I was on overnights for a year. I worked third shift for a year. I listened to this. I worked 7 nights in a row. Listened to the whole book. It took 7 nights at 2.5 times speed. And I still got lost. I'm like,
yeah, I love Stephen King.
What is this? I'm like, are we in present day? Are we in the past? Are we in this city? I'm like, I'm so lost. It took 7 nights, 10-hour shifts. I could listen to this for 8 hours. And I'm like, is it ever going to end?
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I wasn't interested in it. It was just a lot of talking.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing right now.
Yeah, a lot of talking.
And it's like the people were talking to each other. There was no explanation of what was going on. It was like, who are you talking to?
No establishing text.
Yeah. It was like, who are you talking to? And like, now I don't know if I want to actually go back and read it, physically read it.
I don't even know. It's one of those things where, like, somebody at work gave me a Stephen King book. One of his recent ones, I think it was November. It was the one about Kennedy, where like a guy goes back and tries to stop the assassination of Kennedy.
You need to watch the
miniseries on Hulu, right?
It was so good.
But I look at that book. But here's the thing: is I look at that book and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. This book is so big. The thing is that
was
thick.
It 11?
Man, we could go into a whole thing about Stephen King. We'll do that another time. I'd love to just have an entire episode just talk about Stephen King films and books.
My favorite.
But speaking of Stephen King, another remake recently in the last couple years, Pet Sematary.
I remember.
Pet Sematary came out, I believe, in 1990, the original, or it was maybe 89, and then they did a film in 2019, which starred John Lithgow. And that was another remake where they kind of did a twist on. So the original Pet Sematary, spoiler alert, is about a family who buys a house, and one of the kids has a cat. The cat dies. They find their weird neighbor across the street tells them about a magical cemetery that if you put your whatever died in there, it'll come back to life. The cat comes back to life, but it's evil. It's like super mean. But then it was like a couple days later, their son dies, gets hit by a goddamn Mack truck. Somehow this kid is still intact for them to bring it back to life. I always question that. If anyone ever sees this movie, you're going to go, how did this kid not just splatter into a million pieces? Makes no sense. So in the remake, the older daughter is the one who gets killed instead of the little boy.
Okay.
So they kind of did a little twist on that. Yeah. And then there was also this weird Wendigo stuff that they did, which I believe was in the original novel. So the Wendigo is like a mythical creature that lives in the woods.
Bigfoot-esque kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like steal. I think it steals souls or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard good things. I've heard bad things about that remake. But yeah, Stephen King books have been made, remade, and so on and so forth for as long as he has been active in writing. But yeah, that is the latest one, I believe, other than I believe It Part 2, which came out, I believe, the same year, or did it come out last year? I don't know. Another movie that's way too goddamn long. It Part 1, great. It Part 2, why? So long. So long. That movie is 3 hours long.
Yep.
Jesus.
I will take your word for it.
Another one, and actually this is one I did not realize was a remake, was The Departed. Martin Scorsese's The Departed, which came out in 2006. It was a remake of a 2002 film called Internal Affairs.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have one. If you don't hit it on this list, I have one for the list when you get done.
Well, so I made this list, not really my top 10 remakes. It was kind of just, oh, these are remakes I can think of. So,
or what? I understand. I get what you're getting at.
I got The Thing from 1982, which was remade. Yes. Actually, that was the third remake of The Thing. I believe the original was. Oh, Jesus Christ! Why? I blank on these things.
The original one I remember is The Thing from Outer Space.
The Thing from Another World.
Thing from Another World. That's what it is.
That one came out in 1951.
Yep.
No, that one wasn't on my list. It was on the other list.
But that one is also considered The Thing. But yeah, that was a Howard Hawks film back in the 50s.
Yep. Yeah, you can see it on the TV of John Carpenter's Halloween. That's what they're watching.
Yep. And then The Thing, and then people consider The Thing 2011 to be a remake, but it is not. It's actually a prequel to the 1982 Thing, because all the events in that film are what they investigate in the 1982 film. So
Yep, that's true.
I just love telling people that, because people literally will be like, "Oh, it's a terrible remake." I'm like, "Well, for one, it's not a remake, but that's fine." But yeah,
savages.
Yeah. All right, this is one that Dan's not going to agree with, but this is one of I love this remake. Is Dawn of the Dead from 2004. How Dan? He doesn't like them running zombies. Just doesn't like him. I know he's so disappointed. He's so disappointed right now.
Listen. There's a few things in this movie are really fucking stupid. All right.
I hate running zombies too.
Running zombies are okay. I'm not a fan of them, but it's whatever. It's just the norm these days, right?
Yeah.
I prefer the old Shamblers. I've given my reasons why in the Day of the Dead episode we did. I thought it was really stupid. I know it was all supposed to be satirical and funny when they were shooting the celebrities as zombies out in front of the mall from the roof.
Oh yeah, where they would hold the sign up. It was like Britney Spears or something like that. Yeah,
exactly. And then like the baby fetus thing was really fucking dumb.
I don't even remember that. I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Yeah, the one chick's pregnant. She gets bit while she's pregnant, and then she dies when her baby comes out. It's like a zombie fetus. I'm like, that's stupid. Because no, here's the thing though. Here's the thing that doesn't make no sense. It's the fetus tries to like scamper about and kill things. For one, the zombies that are running prior to their death had the ability to run and move and stuff like that regardless beforehand, right?
Right.
They were functioning human beings, be them kids or adults.
Yeah.
A fetus straight out of the womb tube would not be able to do that. I know it's a movie. I get it. It's supposed to be like a wow factor scare. It's I hate that fucking part of it. It loses for me. I know you like the movie. And I need to watch it again. I
do too. I literally have not seen it in probably 10 years or more.
I haven't seen it since it first came out. But when I watched it, it has none of the atmosphere of the original film. Like all of that is gone in my from what I remember.
Well, I know that George A. Romero did not like this remake.
No, and I get what Snyder's going for, because Snyder's more of a actiony, kind of over the top, like dark. Mm-hmm. He does have atmosphere, but it's not the same kind of atmosphere where Romero was more like desolate helplessness and isolation, which I think is represented better in that film than was in this one, in the newer one.
Well, I figure
since we're watching it again.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I figure since we're talking about a horror movie, we might as well just continue because horror, the genre, is probably one of the most has probably the most remade movies of any genre out there. Like I said, Dawn of the Dead, the 1999 The Mummy. Yes, it is a remake. Everybody,
it's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. People just shut up. If anyone says they don't like this movie, Brendan Fraser, we need another Mummy movie. We need him and Rachel Weisz to come back and make another Mummy.
And we'll make one that takes place after the second one, but ignores that shitty third one.
Yes, we don't need to talk about that one. I saw that one in theaters, unfortunately.
I am so sorry.
Listen, I was a huge fan of the franchise, and I said, "Damn, I finally get to see a Mummy movie in theaters." Because when The Mummy Returns came out, I was 10, and I didn't get to see it until after it came out on VHS or DVD, whenever
I watched it twice in theaters.
Oh man, The Mummy is so good. The Mummy is fantastic. We also need more films from Stephen Sommers, the director, because he really didn't do much after he did The Mummy and The Mummy Returns, and then I think he did a few films in between, but then he did a really interesting movie called Odd Thomas, which is about a kid who could see like ghosts or like these like demon things. It was interesting. It had Anton Yelchin, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. R.I.P. He was in the new Star Trek films.
I
played the Russian. He played the Russian.
Yeah. Chekhov. He also did, before the Mummy movies, he did Deep Rising, which is one of my favorite B cult classic kind of films. You should watch it. It's good.
Well, it's like Paul W.S. Anderson, the guy who did all the Resident Evil movies. He did. Why when I'm trying to talk, I can't fucking think.
I know.
It had Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne. They were on a space craft, and then
Event Horizon.
Yes, fantastic movie. And then he went on and did those garbage Resident Evil movies, and he really hasn't been able to redeem himself since, because he's like, I'm just gonna keep doing video game movies. Just keep doing video game movies, and they're working out for me. I'm gonna make 6 Resident Evil films, and then I'm gonna do Monster Hunter. Stop it.
The voice you're doing of mocking Paul, whatever, W.S.
Anderson. What the fuck? I have talked enough. I've talked so much shit about Paul W.S. Anderson on this show. There's no way this man is ever going to be on this show, ever. If eventually this show becomes big, that man will never be on this show, because he is going to watch one of those episodes and go, fuck this guy.
Yep. Well, he sounded like Aaron. Aaron. I said, no, anyway, the way you were doing it sounded like somebody. Just to remind. That was great.
God. But yeah, Event Horizon was so good. It was so suspenseful. I remember the trailers. That is true horror right there.
It was like freaked the shit out of me when I was little, and I seen the trailers for Event Horizon. Like, I'm never watching that movie. Like, and I want to see it now.
I never understood. And of course, The Ring from 2002 is a remake of the 1998 J horror Ringu.
Yep. Which is pretty good.
We reviewed that movie on the channel, so make sure you check that out.
Yep. Ignore what I said. Just go watch the video.
All right, we're gonna go through some horror movie remakes, because there's a lot of them, and I've seen a lot of them. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is probably one of my favorites from 2003.
Yep.
It was Michael Bay literally going, I'm going to make a production company, and we're going to remake a bunch of horror movies. They did, it was Platinum Dunes. They did Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2003. They did a couple others that I can't put my finger on. I don't know if they did My Bloody Valentine, but I know they did the Friday the 13th from 2009, and they did the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street. The thing I appreciate about Texas Chainsaw Massacre is, to be honest, fucking Leatherface is terrifying. They made him so brooding compared, I think, and again, there are people who are going to hate the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, and there are people who are going to love it. I love both of them. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a classic in horror. And the way that entire movie just goes about itself is just fantastic from beginning to end. The way that Leatherface is kind of like that child. He's a child, an overgrown child who's just doing what he's told. where the difference in the remake is, dude, Leatherface, you don't fuck with Leatherface. That man is like 7.5 feet tall, 550 pounds, and just run around with a chainsaw that is probably the length of his entire body. And it's just terrifying. And Arlie Ermy is in it, and he's a legend. So,
dude, Arlie, he plays he's just. I love Arlie Ermy. Rest in peace for him too.
Mm-hmm.
But like, he just knows how to play a top-notch piece of shit, dude. Yep. Like, I just, God, it's so good.
And the deaths in that movie are freaking wild. But the thing that I appreciated about that remake, and it was one of those few movies where I actually questioned it, because when I first saw it was I think a year after it was released. I was around like 13. I bought it on DVD, which I still have the DVD. I actually was going to put it out, but I said, fuck it, I'm not digging through all of my movies. I remember seeing it, and the opening to that movie is like police investigating the Hewitt house.
Yep.
And they make it out like it's real. Like it's, this family actually did this. Now, at that time, I had heard of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I had never seen it. Mm-hmm. Listen, anybody can hate me, okay? But I saw the remake before I saw the original. After I saw the remake, I saw the original and was like, oh shit, okay, now I understand. But that movie just was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I thought they did a great job with the atmosphere, the way that they shot everything, the color of it. It was so like dark and green. It was just gross. It just felt gross. You watched it and you just felt dirty the entire time. Everything. And it had the kid from The Ring in it.
It did.
He played Dirty Boy.
Yeah, he did. Little piece of crap. What was that? God, I can't remember that kid's name.
Yeah, who cares? Who cares?
I actually had a list of remakes Platinum Dunes did, because it's relevant to what we're talking about.
Okay, go ahead.
Platinum Dunes did Amityville Horror.
Okay, what do we think of that?
I have never seen either of them.
So the original, fantastic. They cast Ryan Reynolds in the remake. It was weird. It was just weird. I think Ryan Reynolds did a great job.
Weird.
Stepping out of that comedic comfort zone he's always in, and playing a fucked up character. Amityville is always a toss up for people because it's a bullshit story. It didn't happen.
Yep.
But they made it out.
They all made it up.
Yep.
Yeah, they made it out to be real, and it wasn't.
So I'm not a huge fan of Amityville. Period.
I liked it, I guess, just because I used to be into.
You like the ghosty ghosts?
Oh, me too. 100%.
Really into
like haunted houses and stuff like that, or like paranormal,
supernatural.
I still am. I love that shit. It's great. I watch Ghost Adventures. I admit it.
Yeah, I went through a phase where I was like really into it.
I believe in ghosts. Everybody, judge me.
And then I got to a point. We watched The Exorcist.
Oh, so
many
good.
times. And then I'm like,
please don't remake that movie.
Yes, please don't. That is one of those that it's just
that is Jaws. That is Jaws of the horror. Well, actually, Jaws is considered a horror movie, but
yes, don't
do it.
But then as I got older, I got scared of everything, and then I'm like, I really don't want to watch it. Like all of the Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Yes.
Like, that freaked the shit out of me.
That was a good time in theaters.
Jennifer Carpenter.
We watched it in theater.
It was our first date.
I was like,
that's
nope,
adorable.
Never gonna watch an exorcism movie.
It was her choice. I went because she wanted to go. I was like, all right.
First movie I ever went to when me and my wife started dating was The Dark Knight.
Good choice.
Hell yeah.
That's a good way. That's a good way to
start dating like 2 days before it was.
You just did the voice, and that's how it happened. Like
if I did the voice right now, I wouldn't be able to finish this show. My voice is already fucked. If I did that voice, it'd be like, well, we got to end the episode here. I can't talk.
Okay, bye.
All right.
No opinion. They also did The Hitcher.
I thought that was a really good remake. That's Sean Bean.
Okay. Oh, he died. He had to have.
Yeah, he did. The original character dies too. Spoiler alert for all these movies.
And of course, stuff you were talking about, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street.
What do we think of Friday the 13th?
I haven't seen it.
What the fuck, Dan? Do you watch movies?
No, I don't actually.
He's on a movie podcast, doesn't watch movies.
Well, actually, that was I used to when I was in my late teens. I would hang out with my cousins who were big movie people, and I would watch a lot of films with them. So that's where like a lot of my slightly older film repertoire kind of built up. But I was like, when you asked me to come on here, I'm like, well, this is gonna be an excuse to watch a bunch of movies that I would never ever watch.
There you go.
So, but that is on the list of stuff to watch.
Okay, well, all I got to say about Friday the 13th, the 2009 film, is that this is my controversial take. It's my favorite Jason. He's he's like, absolutely fucking terrifying.
Yeah, whenever you want to do that episode.
So scary.
Do that episode.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know.
I mean, we can listen. I have an idea what we're going to be doing after this episode for the next couple weeks. So we'll talk about it at the end of the show.
Then they moved on to like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Did you see that? The remake of Nightmare on Elm Street?
Mm-mm. I've only seen, dude, I haven't even seen Super Freddy.
Well, I think it was at Nightmare 4 or 5. No, I had been 5. That was Dream Child or Dream. I don't know. Stupid.
Oh man,
Super Freddy.
Super Freddy.
Oh, I have all the fucking Nightmare on Elm Streets on DVD. They had these really cool red cases. They had the little the black tab on them that you had to flick out to then open the cover. Yeah,
fancy.
But yeah, my take on the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. They made it weird. They made it really They made it more creepy because they didn't give Freddy any comedic things to say or do. It was, for one, it wasn't played by Robert Englund. It was played by the actor who played Rorschach in Watchmen.
Yep. Give me my face back. Yeah.
See,
that's a good movie.
I feel so bad because I know all these actors' names, but I just Jackie Earle Haley is the one who played Freddy in the remake. It just didn't feel like a Nightmare film. It was kind of weird. So in the original Nightmare on Elm Street films, Freddy is a child murderer. Everybody knew that. But they kind of didn't, like, they added an extra thing to him. They made him a child molester. And it just, and then the things that he would do in the remake just were so gross. Yeah. Which I understand Freddy is gross to begin with, and the things he does are fucked up. But Robert Englund, the way he created that character is so iconic. I feel like it was a disservice to remake it, in my opinion.
Well, they did something similar-ish in Friday the 13th franchise when they tried to make Jason be a rapist in part 3.
Yeah, I didn't
remember that time, and no, we don't. Yeah, and we're gonna not remember it ever.
I think that's the difference between when they remade Friday the 13th, because Jason doesn't talk. He's just a mass that runs around, or well, in that film he runs around, but in most of the films he's walking around, he's just murdering people in all these unique ways. Where Freddy is a personality, he talks.
Yeah.
He says things before he kills. He's very creative because he can do whatever he wants. He's a dream killer. He can go into your dreams and kill you however way. But the remake just did it in a weird way. And I don't know. I would love to do an episode on an episode on the original Friday the 13th, or not Friday, the Nightmare on Elm Street, and then the remake to kind of do a comparison. Because it is vastly different on characters and all that stuff. Child's Play. This is another one that's very controversial. Child's Play from 2019. The original from 1988 about a serial killer who transfers his soul into a living doll, or not a living doll, but into a doll that becomes living. We reviewed that film a couple weeks ago. Make sure to check that out. But they remade it in 2019, and to be honest, I kind of appreciated the idea behind it all. They made it a rogue. So, spoiler slightly is there's at the factory that the new Buddy dolls are being made, a disgruntled worker fucks with the AI of one of the dolls and then kills himself. And that doll ends up with Andy Barclay and pretty much it pretty much sees a movie of, they were watching a horror movie and this guy's stabbing somebody else. And so it learns how to use a knife and how to do certain things. And it's all AI based. And I appreciated what they tried to do. But the thing was that the Child's Play franchise was still active at that point. I feel like if it was a dead franchise and they tried to remake it, it probably would have ended up being slightly better. But the fact is that Child's Play was like Chucky was still active in film. Like they had just released Cult of Chucky in 2017. And Don Mancini was like, either they were making another movie or they were going to make a TV show, which ended up being a TV show, which is out right now. And he had no input on this 2019 film. So it just kind of felt weird. It felt kind of like you're just stealing somebody else's idea and not giving them any credit for it.
One-upsmanship.
Yeah, I didn't. I like what they were trying to do, but I just at the end it just wasn't a film for me. Also, Brad Dourif is my Chucky. Sorry, Mark Hamill, I love you, but Brad Dourif is my Chucky. A really bad horror remake, House of Wax.
The original is good.
Oh my god, that movie's bad.
It is.
It's so bad.
You know what makes it bad? I'll show you.
Show me. I don't know shit. I don't know shit about fuck.
Well, while you're looking through that, we'll go through a couple others. My Bloody Valentine.
We were gonna watch that last movie night. I want to see that.
She makes it bad. I hate Paris
Hilton. I should have known. I should have known it was Paris Hilton. Fright Night. We talked about Fright Night from the 80s. It was directed by the director of Child's Play.
She's a terrible actress.
And then the remake came out with Colin Farrell and Anton Yelchin. It's actually, from what I've heard, I've never actually seen the remake. I've heard it's actually a good film. A very good remake. It had David Tennant, and who doesn't like David Tennant? Do you know who David Tennant is?
David Tennant is.
He was in Doctor Who. He was one of the doctors. He was also in Jessica Jones.
No, I think he would.
Oh yeah, he was the Purple Man.
Yeah,
I know who it is.
Yep.
It is the Purple Man.
The Hills Have Eyes. A remake of Wes Craven's film from the 70s. I thought that was a good remake. Had Ted Levine in it from Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom and Silence of the Lambs.
There you go.
And my number 10 right now is Evil Dead.
Evil Dead
from 2013. I've heard
never seen it.
I've heard great things about it. I'm actually very excited to watch it. I just need to find a way to watch it.
I just remember when we had it in theaters. One of my friends actually, well, my friend brought his date to it. You'll know who I'm talking about. My friend brought his date to it, his girlfriend to it, and she got scared. She came out to get refills and just hung out with us for most of the movie because she didn't want to watch it. Kaylin. Chance brought Kaylin to it before he worked there, and she just hung out with us at the counter, and we just bullshitted because she didn't want to see the movie because it was scary. I was like, all right.
So Evil Dead, the remake, was a remake of the original 1982 Evil Dead, which funny fact, this is funny fact, is that Evil Dead 2 is ultimately a remake of Evil Dead from 1982. It's the same story with a little bit of a twist, but yeah, it's ultimately a new story. You have no there is nothing is said about the original Evil Dead in Evil Dead 2. So ultimately, it is a remake. So the reason why Sam Raimi did Evil Dead 2 the way that he did was that Evil Dead, the original, was when it was released, got an NC-17 rating. He refused to cut things out to get it an R rating. So of course, when you get an NC-17 rating, you don't get a worldwide release of your film. Yep. It only gets released in select theaters, and so it doesn't get the eyes that he wanted. It's not going to get the box office that you're hoping for. So he decided to do it again in 1987 when he did Evil Dead 2. He ultimately remade Evil Dead, but with a little bit of a twist. And of course, he had to cut down on some of the gore in order to get that R rating. And then ultimately he did Army of Darkness, which was a weird sequel, but it was enjoyable for what it was.
I think the reason that they came down hard on that NC-17 rating is probably the tree scene.
Yes, it is the tree rape scene.
Yes,
which they did again in Evil Dead 2, but the girl just gets dragged through the woods instead of
and the fact that it was filmed in the next county over.
It was filmed by us.
Bruce Campbell is a fucking legend. I can't wait to watch Ash vs. Evil Dead once I'm done with all the Evil Dead movies.
Dude,
but boy, my wife did not like these movies.
Dude,
She did not.
The first one is harsh.
There is
It's
a
harsh.
listen. I'm going to be controversial here because I know a lot of people are huge Evil Dead 2 fans. People will always, what's your favorite Evil Dead movie? It's usually Evil Dead 2 or it's Army of Darkness. I thought Evil Dead was fucking awesome compared to the others.
It's a good movie.
It was generally scary, and I think the Deadites look fucking great compared to Evil Dead 2. I thought they got a little weird and fucking campy as fuck, but I guess that was on purpose. It was on purpose. That was the
start of the campy.
I love Bruce Campbell's a legend, though. But I'm excited. I think so what Evil Dead 2013 did is they made it way more serious. The story behind everything. The Deadites are freaking. I just heard it's all around a horrifying film. I would love to go over it on the show at some point. I gotta find a way to watch the damn fucking movie.
You might have to buy it.
I might have to actually buy it. Damn it. I have all these streaming services. I gotta buy a damn movie. Another remake that I somehow own, and I think I've only seen it a couple times, is The Omen.
No, I never.
So the remake had Lev Schreiber. Lev Schreiber? Something. It's a name. Gregory Peck was in the original. Carrie has been remade a couple times. It was so Carrie from 1976 was remade in 2003. It was a TV movie, and then it was remade in 2013 with Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yep.
And Julianne Moore. Yeah.
I remember that movie.
13 Ghosts was also
13 Ghosts was a remake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we watched we recently watched the original.
I thought we watched House on the Haunted Hill. It was 13 Ghosts.
13 Ghosts.
Yeah, because it was with Vincent Price.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good. The original 13 Ghosts is good, and I love the remake because what's his name's in there? Not Monk, the other guy.
Yeah, it had Tony Shalhoub in it.
Lillard.
Yeah,
Matthew Lillard.
I love Matthew Lillard. No, I don't like him because fucking Shaggy, all right? I like Matthew Lillard because fucking Matthew Lillard screamed this movie.
Listen, he is still Shaggy to this day.
I like pretty sure I'm thinking of that. Schreiber.
Schreiber. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He was in, hang on, let me Google. Because there's a horror movie I really like him from that like nobody talks about. But keep talking. I'll bring it up.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, remakes, they're going to be, they've been happening for a long time and they're going to keep happening, into the future. It's easy money for studios, especially popular films. And it's also an easy way to take a film that might have not gotten the recognition that it deserved and putting it into showing it to new audiences, which I appreciate. As much as Hollywood is kind of lacking in original storytelling, where it's mostly remakes and sequels. As long as I think if I'm gonna watch a remake, I think the ultimate thing is to put your own twist to it. Don't try to copy what is somebody has already done. You can take ideas and elements of those original films and make it your own. I think that's what's great about the newest Planet of the Apes films. It wasn't, they weren't remakes of the originals. They were the origin stories of the original film, but they did their own thing. And I appreciate the hell out of that. And they're fantastic films. Watch all of them. So fucking good.
Dude, so the movie I was trying to think of, it's based on a Dean Koontz novel. It's called Phantoms from 1998.
Okay.
It's got Liev Schreiber, however you say his name, whatever. Ben Affleck was in it. Rose McGowan was in it. Whatever. I don't give a fuck.
It's called Phantoms?
Peter O'Toole.
Rose
McGowan. I don't know who the fuck she is.
Peter O'Toole. He's in Troy.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I remember my grandma watching this, and it's supposed to be a nod to a lot it's a Dean Koontz novel. It was a nod to a bunch of H.P. Lovecraft stuff.
Yeah,
I love this movie. I really do. I haven't seen it in forever. And once you mentioned him, I remembered Phantoms. Phantoms, because that came out around the same time as the superhero movie, The Phantom, and that had what the fuck was it?
I know what you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about because the motherfucker was in Critters. Yeah, Billy Zane.
Billy Zane.
Yeah,
Titanic.
And he punches people, and he's got like the little skull thing ring. Yeah. Anyway, yes, that was the movie.
His sister played Freddy Krueger's daughter in Freddy's Dead, which was the final.
Really?
Was the final like mainstream Freddy movie until A New Nightmare came out.
Yep.
And then Freddy vs. Jason. But yeah, didn't know that was his sister, but cool.
I have a remake for our list. If you don't have any more.
No, go ahead.
I don't know.
I'm out.
Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yes. Who was in the original Gone in 60 Seconds?
Nobody.
Oh, why was I thinking Steve McQueen?
No, nobody. You're thinking of Bullet.
See?
Nobody.
Nobody
At all that you know of, that at least I know of, was in the original Gone in 60 Seconds. It was a super low production film. The storyline is horrible.
Wasn't it one of those that it was people from around?
He was a stuntman. It was literally a movie made by a stunt driver. Yeah, probably all local bros. It's a great movie. It's the same premise as the new film, or the film borrowed things from it. None of the character names are the same. It's HB Halicki or whatever. Yeah, Halicki. Yeah, and it's great. Not a good movie, like story wise, but a fantastic car chase. Like one of the best car chases ever. Which, of course, I love the new Gone in 60 Seconds. Because it's Nick Cage and really good cast all around, right? Great movie, but the car chase is just okay. Like it's not nearly as good in my opinion, because it's so CGI ridden and like it's like a movie with like several little car chases going on, and then like the longer one at the end with Eleanor. And no offense, I know this is gonna make everybody butthurt that's seen this movie. A 1967 Shelby GT500 will never be Eleanor. I'm sorry, guys. I know you've seen this movie. It's like, that's so cool. No, it will always be it's technically a 71 Mach 1. But it's dressed up as a 73. But anyway, this will always be Eleanor. And it's like an hour, it's like a 45-minute long car chase, and there's so much cool shit in it. Like, there's a scene where he wipes out into a telephone pole in the original. He spins out, was not scheduled, on the interstate going 60 miles an hour, smashes into the telephone pole in this Mustang, drives the fuck off, and they left it in the movie. And he just goes. It's so good, dude. It is a fantastic car chase. The rest of the movie, you can take it or leave.
Was it, Angela, what were you, I know you wanted to talk about some TV shows that were remakes.
Beetlejuice.
No, fuck. No, I'm just kidding.
What, the TV show? The cartoon?
It wasn't really a remake.
No,
but
it was a continuation, wasn't it?
But it was it was taken from a movie and made into a TV series. Like there's so many live action movies that were made into animated TV series. It's so weird to see the list of animated series that came from live action movies.
Yeah, a lot in the 90s. You have anything else?
No.
I just see at the top of this movie.
No. Bates Motel, based on
Psycho. Right, yeah, which was a fantastic show.
Love it. That's one of my favorite.
Clerks is good.
It's
animated Clerks is good.
It's made into an animated series.
I forgot that they made Clerks into a TV show.
Dude, you know what show everybody should forget was made into an animated TV show was Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
Yo, they made a freaking Ace Ventura Jr. movie.
I know.
With a kid. Like, what?
I just want to forget it exists at all.
Well, let's talk about the most recent remake, sequel, however the fuck you want to justify this. I watched Home Sweet Home Alone yesterday. Which is legit just a remake of the original Home Alone, but it has elements that show that this is actually a sequel because there is a character who shows up who was in the original movie, and they make reference to Kevin. So take it or leave it. Is it a remake, sequel, whatever? It was one of those movies, without spoiling it, that surprised me in the way they made the premise of. It wasn't just about a kid being home alone and then he gets his house burglarized by two criminals. There was a whole different, like the people who break in, they're not like your normal everyday criminals. They were trying to accomplish something else because, they're going through hard times or they're just trying to, get their life in order, which I appreciated that. It wasn't just a, beat for beat. All right, this is what it's going to be. This kid gets left home alone. These two people see that he's home alone. They're going to try to rob his house. Bing, bom, boom. It's the same movie. No.
Hilarity ensues.
Yeah. I thought that the way that they gave you a nice little twist on it, it was fine. Still, the movie, probably won't watch it again. It's not that good.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Also,
I didn't have high hopes for it.
Yeah. Also, another fun. I guess I watched a few remakes this past weekend. Dune. Dune.
Dune was a remake.
I just watched the new Dune this weekend. It is a remake of. Well, it's actually based on a book, but it's also a remake of the film from 80. Yeah, the mid 80s.
Yeah.
The original was directed by. Oh, why can't I think of people's names?
Insert important director here.
Yeah.
Just put Dune and then put The Spice Must Flow and they'll get it.
1984 was the original Dune, and it was directed by David Lynch, a prolific director. Starred Kyle MacLachlan and Virginia Madsen. She's from Candyman.
Virginia.
And it was not a well-liked film. It was a mess. It was an absolute fucking mess.
Was it?
The original Dune? Yeah. And
the new one I meant.
The new one was fantastic. Fucking
fantastic.
I can't wait for part 2. So it's going to be 2 parts. That one won't come out till like
ever
2023, I think. But yeah, so the original 1984 Dune was a mess. And of course, it was such a fucking mess. And they trying to get the right scripts. I know there was a shit ton of scripts over the years to remake this film to the way that the book, puts it out there. And of course, it doesn't come out till 2021. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, who directed Blade Runner 2049. Come on, man. This man is a fucking fantastic director. Prisoners with Jake Gyllenhaal and fucking... Oh, my God, Dan. I'm going to have to demote you.
What?
I'll figure it out.
I'm barely here half the time.
You're less than me.
Dude, he did the sequel to Blade Runner. He did Prisoners. He did freaking Arrival. Such great, visually beautiful movies. And they're... Oh, God.
You're saying all these words and they mean nothing to me.
You right now, you mean nothing to me. Oh, my goodness. All right. I think, unless you guys have other ideas, listen, everybody, there is a lot of sequels. We haven't gotten to that point yet. There are a lot of remakes out there. Some good ones, that there are really good remakes or really bad remakes or remakes that should never exist, and they're going to continue to be made. There's a lot we didn't cover today. Most of these films that we mentioned, or at least I mentioned, are films I've seen. So I can't really talk about movies I haven't seen because it's hard to, really describe what we thought about something we haven't seen. I mean, Dan hasn't seen about 85% of the movies I said today, so
that's bullshit. You don't know. Just didn't say nothing.
I have some that you haven't mentioned that you're probably like, oh.
I feel attacked.
All right. Well, let's go.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh God, garbage!
I mean,
Absolute garbage.
Shit. You only like fucking dickhead.
I love Johnny Depp. He is one of my faves.
I love Johnny Depp.
Fuck his Willy Wonka. What the fuck was that, man? How do you look at when you watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and you look at Gene Wilder and the fantastic job he did with Willy Wonka and you go, let's make him fucking weird as fuck, dude. Let's make him the weirdest voice. Let's make him this creepy child, like a grown ass child. It's so weird. I hated it.
Hey, you know another movie that was like that I hated? That's by that son of a bitch that I don't like that makes movies. That's vague. Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, I'm torn. I did not like I enjoyed it.
I didn't like it.
All right.
I don't like Tim Burton. I don't like what he does.
A lot of people don't like Tim Burton because he's not a very nice person, according to people according to people who have worked with him. I've seen, there's a lot of people on Twitter that I've seen on Twitter that like, I've worked with Tim Burton, and it's one of those things, never meet your heroes, because he is not a very nice person. I take it or leave it. I'm not like I said, like I've said in the last episode, I don't like to dive into people's personal lives. So that's the farthest I'm going to go into that. What else? Movie. What else you got?
Night of the Living Dead. I'm stealing.
Oh, fantastic remake. Exactly. Another remake where they didn't go beat for beat. They actually changed plot points and it made it a great film.
Yes.
Barbara Lives, people.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I hate that remake.
So are you talking about are you talking about the Grinch, the animated one? No. Are you talking about the original, like the 60s one? And then
it's technically
I watched the Jim Carrey one as its own thing. I don't compare it to the originals because it's a Jim Carrey movie in my eyes. I enjoy it. It's a Ron Howard movie, which is always weird.
The last good movie, in my opinion, that Jim Carrey was in was Bruce Almighty. Anything after that, I didn't give a shit about.
And then they're like, Steve Carell, do you want to do a sequel to this film? They're like, yeah. And then they're like, oh God, can you go back to The Office, please? Because that movie sucked.
I'm not. Even if you don't compare it to the original, I just don't care for that. How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
He had to go through hell to do that movie because that prosthetic was awful.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
All right, what else you got?
One that I didn't know was a remake, Angels in the Outfield.
What? I didn't know that either. That had Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it. Was he in that?
When's the family gonna get back together? Yeah, when the Angels win the pennant.
It had Danny Glover, Tony Danza, Christopher Lloyd, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, I remember.
But so the original came out in 1951.
Wow.
It had Janet Leigh in it.
Hey, Jelly. The Blob. The
Blob was another one.
Oh, The Blob. That's right. You know who was in the original one?
Yeah, Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. And then in the remake, it was the girl from Saw, Shani Smith. She played Amanda in Saw. Yeah, the one who was in the bear trap on her face.
Oh, the one with the drug problem.
And then the second one, she was the one who gets thrown into like the pit of fucking used needles.
Yeah, that's the one.
Ugh.
Have fun.
And she was in a show with Charlie Sheen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It was after that. That whole period. It was hilarious.
Wicker Man.
Oh God, we don't need to talk about that. That is one of the worst remakes ever made.
We can just talk about it in name only.
The bees, not the bees. Do you know that in the DVD version of that movie, that scene isn't in it? It was only in TV versions, and then they later, when they re-released it on Blu-ray and stuff, they added it in.
Good. The bees needs to be there. It's the bees knees.
That I'm sorry, that made the original.
Just think of the Cage Fighter t-shirt.
I mean, that made it for me.
Fucking hell.
Dude, all I think about the remake of The Wicker Man is the bees and Nick Cage dressed up in like a bear suit. Like he had like a bear suit on. He's running through this fucking village.
Does he just run around and just go off like cold cock some woman? And
he literally runs up to a woman and just punches her as hard as he could. I was like, this is Nick Cage. I swear to God, they cast Nick Cage in a different movie and he showed up to the Wicker Man and they're like, man, I guess so. And then they were like, fuck, is this the right guy? It's just Nick Cage being Nick Cage in a movie that's supposed to be a horror film.
Somebody just looks at him like, Nick, I want you to do this role as if it was Con Air 2. okay, Nick.
Because the original Wicker Man, it had Christopher Lee in it, and that was it was a scary movie. Like it was a psychological thriller. Last House on the Left.
Oh
yeah, that was another one on my list.
I need to see both of those.
Oh man,
the original.
Don't eat anything beforehand because you might. It's fucking rough. I Spit on Your Grave is another one if we're talking about rape revenge.
Oh yeah. I'm well aware of those ones.
Yeah, movies I kind of refuse to watch. I don't want to watch those. I have zero interest in rape revenge. I did watch the remake of Last House on the Left. I've never seen the original. I don't know if I can because I've heard a lot of people say it's a very rough watch, and I just don't know. Like I remember watching the remake and being like my stomach hurt because there's a 10-minute rape scene. No joke. This isn't an exaggeration. 10 fucking minutes, no cut, of this dude raping this girl. And that's all I'll say about it.
That's harsh.
It's a rough watch.
What about Cannibal Holocaust?
Wasn't the Green Inferno was the remake from Eli Roth?
It wasn't really a remake. It was just the spirit. It was just an homage to cannibal exploitation, if you will. Movies from the 70s. Well, there's exploitation for everything.
I know.
There is. I used to work with a woman who was obsessed with these type of films, like the Cannibal Holocaust. And of course, Cannibal Holocaust, it was so hard to buy. You can't just like go on fucking Walmart.com or Amazon and buy that movie. She'd be like, I had to buy it through like 3 different things. I had to go through this guy, this guy, and this guy to get this movie. I'm like, it was worth that? How much you pay for it?
I've heard from a cinematic perspective, the original's worth watching. Just from like, because it's very just like a history of like cinematography, just how it was made and how it was done. It's interesting. The film itself apparently can be brutal at moments. So
yeah.
Homeward Bound.
I recently found out that was a remake, and I was very surprised. I love the Homeward Bound from the early 90s, I guess it was.
Yeah. Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, because that was the animated movie, right? Then they made it into live action with Dakota Fanning.
Beauty and the Beast.
A Disney remake, live action remake that I didn't hate. I like Emma Watson. The Beast looked weird as hell, but
yeah.
Hey, all the furries liked it, so.
Another good one that I like, Clash of the Titans.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I liked it.
I actually enjoyed Clash of the Titans, and they're like, let's make another one, and it was bad.
Well, even the original Clash of the Titans,
dude, like stop motion was fantastic.
Oh yeah, Ray Harryhausen doing his awesome shit. It was very drawn out at times. Even the original one, I was like I get what they're establishing, but they need to pick up the pace a little bit. The newer one was a little faster.
I'd say Star Trek would count as a remake.
Oh yeah,
2009 Star Trek, because it based on all those characters.
It is, because it's kind of its own continuity. So yeah, absolutely.
The Nutty Professor.
Yep.
Oh
yeah. That one. Who was the original? I think it was. He's a comedian. It was a comedian back.
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis. Yep. Yep.
See, I know things.
It was the absent-minded professor. Whatever.
Flubber, I believe, was a remake.
Yeah, that was the absent-minded professor. Was Flubber.
Yeah.
Yes, that was it.
Almost got a pin to the face.
I love Flubber.
It's over here.
No, I went this way, and you went. I like turned. I was fixing to like.
101 Dalmatians. It was.
Yeah. Cause it was another one of those Disney live action remakes. It's tough. Disney has so many of those.
But that was admittedly one of the earlier live.
Yes, that was before it became like every year we're getting a live action remake.
Yes.
Of one of their films.
The one that I found odd that was not on your list, which I guess because it was after you said 2019, Freaky Friday.
Yeah. There was a Freaky Friday from like the 60s. Right, and then there was the one, and then there was the Jamie Lee Curtis, Lindsay Lohan one, which is actually a really good remake before Lindsay Lohan went off the deep end.
Yeah,
and I know they did it again.
There was one in 1995.
It was a TV movie,
which was a TV movie, but it was still
it was a movie. It's still a movie.
Listen, Freaky Friday has been made in so many different ways where it wasn't even called Freaky Friday, like Freaky, the movie that just came out with Vince Vaughn.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's Freaky Friday, but with a serial killer. And then there was one where it had Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman, where they like piss in a fountain and their souls change bodies.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Freaky Friday has been made into so many different films. It's ridiculous.
The Fog.
Yep. The Fog, The Mist.
Yeah. The Mist.
Well, The Mist was turned into a TV show.
Yep. Let's see. Mighty Joe Young.
Yep. Because that was like a King. That was like a King Kong spinoff, right? The original.
Yeah.
It would. Mighty Joe Young would have been in the 40s.
Yeah.
Because King Kong and Son of Kong came out almost back to back, and then Mighty Joe Young, and then that one with Bill Paxton.
Let's see.
But yeah, Bill Paxton and Charlize Theron.
Never seen it. You think I would have, but I've never seen it.
It's worth watching.
Piranha.
Point Break.
Fucking
Oh
Point
God,
Break.
that Point Break remake can go to fucking hell. How do you make a Point Break movie
Hey.
and not ask Keanu Reeves to come back? Come on.
You didn't say they had to be good.
They're garbage.
Side and Adventure.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just called Poseidon. Before we just literally start listing 1,000 movies, because there are so many, we're probably
just cut like
gonna
half this out.
we're gonna close out this episode right now. Listen, everybody, if you watch this on YouTube or wherever you watch or listen, make sure to comment on what your favorite remakes are, what your least favorite remakes are. So my idea for the next couple of weeks, I think we're gonna do 2 episodes. We're going to do. We'll talk it over and discuss what we should review a good remake, and then 1 week we'll review a bad remake, and we'll discuss amongst each other to figure out what movie we'll do each of those weeks. And then I believe by that time we're going to be going into December, which means we're going to be starting our Christmas film reviews. Which means every one of us here on the show, even I think my brother will come back. I'm trying to get my brother to come back onto the show at some point. Yeah. He'll get there. But we're gonna each pick our own Christmas movie to review throughout the month of December. And the rules are: it does not have to be a Christmas movie per se. It does not have to be a Santa Claus, Christmas type movie. It can be a movie that literally takes place on Christmas or whatever. That's ultimately the rules I'm going to put out there. It could be a Christmas movie, 100% Christmas movie if you want it to be. It is your movie to pick. Everybody, like I said, I've already talked about what I'm going to be reviewing. Also, if for some reason we run out of movies to do, I have a movie I really want to review during the month of December that is a Christmas movie, but also a horror movie. But I'm not gonna.
Ginger Dead Man.
I'm not gonna talk about it though. No, but it's directed by somebody who we have reviewed on the show before in one of our first, in our first series. So if you can figure it out,
I know what it is.
Yeah.
I know what it is.
Yeah,
I'm not saying anything. I know what it is.
Other than that, that is gonna be it for us today. Thank you so much for all the support over the weeks, all the amazing content we put out that you guys are supporting.
Yes.
It was fun to kind of just sit down and just kind of have a conversation about something instead of talking about it in one specific movie. We talked about a lot of movies, and I hope you enjoyed it. Also, make sure to check out our review of Dexter New Blood episode 2. That should be out. Was out on Wednesday. This will be out on Friday. I'm excited to be talking about Dexter. Me and Angela get to sit down and talk about that every week. We give Dan a break. Unless we need to know about the vehicles and the guns that are in the episodes, then I need Angela to ask. No, your wife lives with you. She can ask you.
No.
But yeah, make sure to check out that new episode, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the videos. Like I said, make sure to tell us what remakes do you like, what remakes don't you like, and what would you like to see us talk about on the show, because after December, once the first of the year hits, we're going to be jumping into a new series. So what series will we cover? We don't know yet. So we got a whole month and a half to figure it out. So send us your comments and all that fun stuff. Make sure to follow the channel, Dissect That Film, over on Instagram, Twitter, and we're on TikTok, even though I think I have one video on there, but follow it anyways. Where can they find you, DNA Gaming?
Check down there.
Yeah, check down there. That's the best we can do.
I'm going to plug myself this time.
All right, Dan, plug yourself. Yes. Do it.
On Twitter. What?
What's better than where they can already find us?
I don't know. Maybe people want to see my dumb shit. Anyway, fair enough. Anyway, it's Rohm, ROEHM _21 DW on Twitter. That's it.
All right.
That's all you get.
And Dan already stated this.
Yeah, I did.
If the YouTube can hit 200 subs and our Twitter, the Dissect That Film Twitter, hits 500 followers, Dan is going to change his name on Twitter to Dissect That Dan.
Yeah, damn right.
So let's get these follows and those subs to get Dan to switch his name over on Twitter. Also, make sure to check these wonderful people as they do stream. What's your stream schedule right now? Monday, Thursday, Saturday? Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday? Something like that?
Wait,
The normal is
Monday,
Monday,
Wednesday,
Wednesday,
Saturday.
Saturday, but she occasionally does extra stuff.
Okay.
Occasionally.
I'm
Sometimes.
playing
stream-
Resident Evil.
Dan is streaming Resident Evil 0. Angela on Mondays likes to make stuff, and
Sometimes.
she plays a lot of Phasmophobia with some crazy people. And when I mean crazy, they're crazy. And sometimes I play. I haven't played in like fucking 4 months, but maybe someday.
One day. We'll
But
get
yeah, you can follow me on my personal Twitter at Parker Dissects on Twitter and on Instagram. You can also follow my TikTok as well. I don't make TikToks, but fuck it. Maybe someday I'll go back to it. But yeah, let's get those 100 subs on the YouTube so we can get our URL. We're at 26 as of this recording. So let's go. And we have 1.5 thousand views on Jurassic Park 3. Oh,
yes.
Jesus.
Keep it coming.
It's wild. But thank you,
Lost
everybody,
World's
for the
coming.
support. Really do appreciate it.
Yes,
We're slowly getting there, and I am loving every bit of it. And I always look forward to getting to sit down and talk with these basic people about movies, because movies are my passion. I love talking about it. And there's not a lot of people personally that I get to sit down and talk about movies in the way that I talk about it on the show with Dan and Angela.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the hell out of them for being part of this whole thing. Hopefully for a very, very long time, to the point where we could even just have this be our job, you know, someday.
That'd be awesome.
That's the dream. That's the dream. But as this show needs to finally end, I say needs because I'll just keep on talking. I am Brett Parker. That is DNA Gaming. We're going to see you all next week. Have a wonderful day and week. Bye.